One of the things that I wanted to talk about today was just all the different ways that NASA is looking at plants in space. All right, and I guess one of the things, and those of you that I believe have passengers might enjoy this video here, is can we grow a tree in space? And this was a fun video I saw by that same professor at University of Wisconsin.
You booked a sunny Verbo ski chalet with endless views of snow-covered peaks.
Hello, my name is Estella Newhouse. And the question is today, how long does it take for a tree to grow in space?
My name is Simon Gorey. I'm a professor at the Botany Department at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. On the International Space Station, the spruce seedlings have been grown, but not to full-size trees. So the question is, how long would it take for a tree to get to be full size? And how tall would it get? And what would it look like in space? That's actually kind of a complicated question. We don't know by having grown trees, but because we kind of know how trees operate, we can guess at what's going to happen when they're in space. The tallest trees on Earth at the moment are the giant redwoods. They're about 300 to 400 feet tall. And the things that stop them getting taller are largely related to gravity. So to get that tall, you have to be massive, you have to be strong. The other limit about how tall they can get is trees have to draw water up from the ground, up to their leaves. And so they're pulling the water up through the plant. And at some point, the water column that they're pulling up through themselves gets so long that it'll break. Go into space, that doesn't count anymore. So you go into space, you don't weigh anything. And so we know that plants growing on the space station grow long and thin, and they don't lay down all of that support tissue. So that means that you can get big because you don't weigh anything. And also, you're drawing water up through the plant, and the limit on Earth was gravity breaking that water column. But there is no gravity pulling on that water column in space. So in theory, a tree could get massively tall in space. Now, there's going to be some practical limitations. You've got to grow it inside a space station. Your space station's not going to be 400 feet tall, so that's probably never going to happen with growing giant sequoias in space. But there's a flip side to removing gravity, which is plants use gravity to direct their growth. So classically, shoots grow up, roots grow down. So as that tree is growing, it's using gravity to tell it what direction to put those two organs in. Roots growing down, shoots are growing up. Take away that cue, and you have one set of confused plants. How long does it take to go through a generation? Would a tree grow like it does on Earth? That's something that we don't know. So that's a big open question. That's the kind of research which is going on now on the space station to try and work out exactly how plants grow under those weird conditions of no gravity and all the strangeness that you have when you go into space.
All right, I thought that was a fun video, and it might help some of you as you're thinking about your final project here. All right, so NASA. NASA is trying to address all these questions about plants in space for all those reasons we have talked about throughout the semester, right? Prolonged space flight, being able to provide food or oxygen for astronauts, growing vegetables on other planets, terraforming, whole bunch of reasons, right? So they have a lot of these astrobotanical projects out there, right? Now I'm just going to very briefly talk about this Apex 7 project. All right, it's the Advanced Plant Experiment. I'm assuming this 7 means it's the 7th generation of this experiment. But essentially, experiments are designed to look at how gravity and other factors affect gene expression in plants. All right, so which genes are turned on, which genes are turned off, right? Which genes do these plants actually use? And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about it, because on Monday, all right, we have a guest speaker. All right, so Borja, I hope I'm saying his name right, is going to talk to our class virtually here. He worked on this Apex experiment. He worked with NASA to send some, I believe he sent seedlings of Arabidopsis into space. All right, so he will be talking to us. He's currently at Texas A&M University. He works in the Department of Biochemistry and Biophysics under the Dorothy Shippen Lab. And one of the things that this Apex 7 looks at and that his lab looks at are telomeres. And I know this is probably a new word for a lot of you, so I just wanted to very briefly introduce this. I let him know that we have a lot of non-science majors in this class, so I'm hoping he keeps his lecture very broad and introduces these topics as well. All right? But these telomeres, these are the ends of our chromosomes. All right? They're made of these very repeating DNA sequences. Right? They don't code for anything. Right? But basically, they help protect the chromosome from damage. Right? Give it some sort of stability. Right? And his research is really looking at what is happening to these telomeres when we send them up into space. Right? So he should be talking to us more about that on Monday. Right? And a project, I think I have it in the homework slides here, is that I would like you to come up with like 3 potential questions that you could possibly ask him. That way, when it comes time for questions, I know you will have some. All right, so that assignment, I think it made it worth 4 points. That's like the rest of the points in the class you can get. All right, easy 4 points. Come up with 3 questions and try to answer them if you feel so inclined on Monday. All right, this is a lot on this slide. Right, basically, right. At this point, I am done lecturing, and it is your turn to lecture. So we are going to look at these different ways that NASA has looked at plants in space. Right? So as a group, I'm going to assign you one of these topics to kind of come up with a quick presentation, maybe like 5 minutes, give some information about it. All right? All this text that I have on this slide is also on Moodle. All right, because I know this will eventually go blue on me here. All right, but research a little bit about it and be prepared just to give a very quick presentation to the class. All right, now I figured we're going to break up into the same groups we're doing our final projects in, but we don't necessarily have to. All right, so let's see here. Does that sound okay to break up into those groups, or do you want slightly larger, slightly smaller? Good. Good. All right, I'm going to assume good. And Bryn, you'll have a virtual partner here. We'll work that out. All right, so to try to do this very, very random, all right, I have this wheel of names. Right, and I pre-split you into those groups, assuming that you were okay with it here. So, the first group will be, all right, Emmy and Freya. I will remove you from the list here. You will be working with Veggie. All right. I'm just going to go straight down the list. Make it totally random. Yes. Since you got to choose for your final project, you know. All right. So, Veggie, Emmy, and Freya. The next one is for the advanced plant habitat. All right. Luke and Bryn, you will be looking at the advanced plant habitat. All right, next one is for the Eden ISS. All right, Maria, Peyton, and Chloe, you have that one. So that is the Eden ISS. The next one will be University of Arizona's prototype lunar greenhouse. All right, Tasha, Lex, Macy, you have the prototype lunar greenhouse. I have a feeling there might be a little bit of jealousy towards that one there. All right, the next one is for a series of research projects called AIRI. All right, Blake and Ainsley, you'll be looking at AIRI. Astrobotany.com has a whole section on it. Right? There's a lot of projects under that. I'm just looking for a broad overview. All right, tomatosphere. All right, Noah and Claire, you will be looking at tomatoes. All right, next is toast. All right. Alex and Abby, you'll be looking at toast. Same thing with Erie. Astrobotany.com is going to be your friend. All right. Last two. First group gets the biosatellite. All right. The last group that was not chosen by the wheel will get the biological research in canisters. All right. Joss and Will, you'll be looking at the biosatellite. Right, Cecilia, Emily, and Anna Marie, you'll be looking at the canister one, the biological research in canisters. All right, so on Moodle, I did put on, let's see, the assignment here has a document you can download with those points. Yes, question. All right. I will take off the restriction. Try to refresh it, though, because it should have been available at 10:30.
It's not like through Google, it's not.
Oh, from Google. Okay. Let's fix that. Is that the slides? Both of them.
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay. Let me share it again. That should have made it work. Presentation work, all right. And then, oh, when I exited out of Moodle when I did that. What I did is I might have copied a link that wasn't specific to the Gustavus account, and that's why it didn't show up. You should have access to both of them now. All right, so I'm looking for a presentation, a few slides. I'll give you quite a bit of time to work on this so you can research it. Ask me questions if you need to. And I guess one thing before we really get started here, I'm just going to throw up the homework slide here. This is everything that is left for the rest of the course. So it looks like a lot, but this is everything that's left. All right. Homework tonight, there's something I want you to read. I have not found a good video for stats yet. I was busy grading those outlines this morning. I will post that right after class here. But reading and watching, taking your last quiz, continuing those measurements on the Martian soil experiment. Tomorrow we will conclude that experiment. Right, that's going to be all of tomorrow, what we'll be doing. Your last assignment is due tomorrow, which is an easy one. It's listening to gardeners of the galaxy on soils, answering a couple questions. Shouldn't take too long here. Again, submit your questions about the guest speaker, your endurance topics. Martian soil lab report is due on Monday. You can get a head start on it. All right, you don't need the results to do the introduction or the result or the methods section.
Is that like with our lab group, or is that?
That is individual.
I found them.
Yes, yes. I believe it says that on the submission part of that. All right. And then, again, final group project and presentation. Remember, you not only have the paper, you have a quick presentation, right? And you have that newspaper critic review. All right. So that's going to challenge you to really try to condense everything in that paper down to one paragraph, right? In the hopes that we can make a poster out of all of these and put it in the hallway. All right, so I should have something up on Moodle on that. I will double check while you are working here.